When converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts for use in an American home, several factors need careful consideration. Firstly, transformer selection is crucial. A step-down transformer is the recommended choice for this conversion. A step-down transformer reduces the voltage from 220 volts to 120 volts. Auto transformers can be used, but they do not provide electrical isolation between the input and output, which can be a safety concern. Power converters might be suitable for some electronic devices, but they are generally not recommended for lamps, especially antique ones, due to potential compatibility issues with the lamp's internal components. Secondly, determining the appropriate capacity of the transformer is essential for safe and efficient operation. The transformer capacity should be based on the wattage of the lamp. Check the lamp's label for its wattage rating. If the wattage is not specified, you can calculate it by multiplying the voltage, which is 220 volts, by the current, in amps, that the lamp draws. It is always a good practice to choose a transformer with a capacity that exceeds the lamp's wattage by at least 20% to provide a safety margin and prevent overheating. For example, if the lamp is rated at 60 watts, choose a transformer with a capacity of at least 75 watts. Thirdly, transformer wiring must be done correctly to avoid electrical hazards. Before starting any wiring work, disconnect the power supply to the lamp circuit. Connect the 220 volts input side of the transformer to the 220 volts power source, which in this case will be converted from the 120 volt supply using an adapter if needed. Connect the 120 volts output side of the transformer to the lamp's wiring. Ensure all connections are secure and insulated properly using wire connectors or electrical tape. Follow the transformer manufacturer's instructions for specific wiring details. Fourthly, outlet compatibility is another important consideration. It is generally not necessary to replace the standard American outlet with a European outlet. Using a European outlet in an American electrical system can create confusion and potential hazards. Instead, use a plug adapter to connect the transformer's input plug to the American outlet. Ensure the adapter is rated for the voltage and current requirements of the transformer. Replacing the outlet is only recommended if you want to maintain the original appearance of the lamp, but this is not necessary for functionality. Fifthly, switch installation depends on the switch that was purchased. The purchased switch can be used with the transformed lamp, provided it is rated for the voltage and current requirements of the 120 volt circuit. Check the switch's specifications to ensure it is compatible. If the switch is not rated for 120 volts, it should not be used, as it may overheat or fail. Wiring modifications may be required depending on the switch type. Follow the switch manufacturer's instructions for proper wiring. Sixthly, safety precautions are paramount when working with electricity and converting a lamp between different voltages. Always disconnect the power supply before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools to prevent electric shock. Wear safety glasses to protect your eyes. Double check all wiring connections to ensure they are secure and properly insulated. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, consult a qualified electrician. Lastly, testing and troubleshooting are essential to ensure the converted lamp is working properly. After wiring the transformer and switch, test the lamp by plugging it into an outlet and turning it on. If the lamp does not turn on, check the following. Firstly, ensure the transformer is receiving power. Secondly, verify that the switch is in the on position. Thirdly, check all wiring connections to ensure they are secure. Fourthly, test the lamp's bulb to ensure it is not burned out. Fifthly, use a multimeter to check the voltage of the lamp socket to ensure it is receiving 120 volts from the transformer. If any issues arise, disconnect the power supply and recheck all wiring connections. If the problem persists, consult a qualified electrician. Converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts requires careful planning and execution. By following these steps and taking the necessary safety precautions, you can ensure your antique lamp functions correctly and safely in your home. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity, and if you are unsure about any aspect of the conversion process, seek professional assistance. It's also important to understand some basic electrical principles to ensure the lamp operates safely and efficiently after the conversion. One crucial aspect is understanding the difference between voltage and current. Voltage, measured in volts, is the electrical potential difference that drives the flow of electrical current. Current, measured in amps, is the rate of flow of electrical charge. The relationship between voltage, current, and resistance is defined by Ohm's law, which states that voltage equals current times resistance, or volts equals amps times ohms. When converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts, you are essentially reducing the electrical potential difference. This means that the current drawn by the lamp will increase proportionally to maintain the same power output, assuming the lamp's resistance remains constant. For example, if a lamp consumes 60 watts at 220 volts, it will draw approximately 0.27 amps, calculated by dividing 60 watts by 220 volts. When converted to 120 volts, the same lamp will draw approximately 0.5 amps, calculated by dividing 60 watts by 120 volts. This increase in current is why it's crucial to choose a transformer with an adequate capacity to handle the increased current draw. In addition to Ohm's law, it's important to understand the concept of power, which is the rate at which electrical energy is transferred. Power is measured in watts and is calculated by multiplying voltage by current, or watts equals volts times amps. When selecting a transformer, you need to ensure that its power rating in watts is sufficient to handle the lamp's power consumption. As mentioned earlier, it's a good practice to choose a transformer with a capacity that exceeds the lamp's wattage by at least 20% to provide a safety margin and prevent overheating. Another important consideration is the type of wiring used in the lamp. Older lamps may have wiring that is not rated for the higher current that will be drawn after the voltage conversion. If the wiring appears to be old, brittle, or damaged, it's recommended to replace it with new wiring that is rated for at least 1 amp to ensure safe operation. When replacing the wiring, use stranded copper wire of the appropriate gauge, typically 18 gauge or 16 gauge, and ensure that all connections are secure and properly insulated. It's also important to understand the different types of electrical plugs and outlets used in different countries. In the United States, the standard plug is a Type A or Type B plug, which has 2 or 3 flat pins, respectively. In Europe, the standard plug is a Type C, Type E, or Type F plug, which has 2 round pins. When converting a 220 volts lamp with a European plug to 120 volts for use in the United States, you will need to use a plug adapter to convert the European plug to an American plug. Ensure that the adapter is rated for the voltage and current requirements of the transformer and that it provides a secure and reliable connection. It's also important to be aware of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, which is the set of standards for safe electrical installations in the United States. The NEC provides guidelines for wiring, grounding, overcurrent protection, and other aspects of electrical safety. When converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts, you should ensure that the installation complies with all applicable NEC requirements. For example, the NEC requires that all electrical equipment be properly grounded to prevent electric shock. This means that the metal parts of the lamp and the transformer should be connected to a grounding conductor, which is typically a green or bare copper wire. The grounding conductor provides a low resistance path for fault current to flow back to the electrical panel, which will trip a circuit breaker or ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, and energize the circuit. In addition to grounding, the NEC also requires that all electrical circuits be protected by overcurrent protection devices such as circuit breakers or fuses. Overcurrent protection devices are designed to interrupt the flow of current in the event of an overload or short circuit, which can prevent damage to equipment and reduce the risk of fire. When converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts, you should ensure that the circuit breaker or fuse protecting the lamp circuit is rated for the appropriate current. The NEC provides tables that specify the maximum allowable current for different sizes of conductors. For example, NEC Table 310.15b16 specifies the ampacity of insulated conductors rated up to 600 volts. When selecting a circuit breaker or fuse, you should choose one that is rated for the ampacity of the conductors used in the lamp circuit. It's also important to be aware of the potential hazards associated with working with electricity. Electricity can be dangerous if not handled properly. Always disconnect the power supply before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools to prevent electric shock. Wear safety glasses to protect your eyes. Double-check all wiring connections to ensure they are secure and properly insulated. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, consult a qualified electrician. Converting a 220 volts lamp to 120 volts requires careful planning and execution. By understanding the basic electrical principles, following the necessary safety precautions, and complying with all applicable codes and standards, you can ensure that the lamp operates safely and efficiently after the conversion. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity, and if you are unsure about any aspect of the conversion process, seek professional assistance.